The Cowboys OT is brought to you by Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
On a day that was built with so much promise after Dallas had won 6 of their last 7 games, well, it came to a screeching halt. All that momentum running into a wall full of Washington Commanders. 26-6 as the Cowboys fall on the road at FedEx Field in the final week of the 2022 regular season. Welcome into Cowboys OT, where we break down what just happened between Washington and Dallas. Here from the Star in Frisco, alongside Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Youmans. Glad you're with us. Gentlemen, it was not pretty for the Cowboys. Under 200 yards of total offense. They didn't run the football well. They didn't play good defense. The special teams unit with not one but 2 miscues that really cost you an entire possession. Barry, any one of the 3 phases you could point the finger at, but where do you have to start?
Well, I'm going to look on the defensive side of the football. And, you know, it wasn't the outcome or the performance better that the Cowboys wanted to see from their defense. But overall, I mean, once again, you look at it. Washington was able to put up 151 yards on the ground. The rushing attack continues to be a thorn in the Cowboys' side throughout this entire season. 151 yards is just not going to cut it. And then you also look at the quarterback play. This is like the 3rd week straight in a row that this defense has made a guy, a rookie, or someone with very little experience out there look like they belong in this league. If you look at it, Sam Howell, he was efficient out there, 11 for 19, 169 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, this is a guy that should have been wanting to wave the white flag after the first half, but he was not able to. He was out there just making this defense look very pedestrian. So we've got to get these things together. And then you also look at it, the big plays, all right? When you look at this secondary, that's something that they prided themselves on early on in the season. But those 2 injuries to 2 of your top 3 corners out there, they really got exposed. Big plays from Scary Terry McLaurin, big plays from Dotson as well. This cannot carry over to the playoffs, or it's going to be an early exit for this Cowboys team. The offensive line really amazed me. I mean, we had all the injuries with Biotish last week, and now we had 2 major offensive line changes in your tackling and your guard. So what we have to do is we have to clean it up there. We have to give Dak an open field, but then also, Dak, you got to, you know, decide what's forcing the ball and what's hurting your team. And right now, your team is starting to have to overcome you. That is not a pretty thing going into the playoffs.
It was just all bad. I don't even know which one you want to pick first, Kyle. But, you know, you hit on the defense, we hit on the offense. I guess I'll just go to special teams, because special teams now all of a sudden is finding ways to give the ball to the other team. Obviously, Cavante Turpin's trying to make some things happen back there, but the ball, he takes his eyes off the prize, right? Looks at the defender, ball goes off his head. The other team gets an opportunity. That's another touchdown, another score, whatever it may have been. But you just can't keep giving teams opportunities to score, to have extra possessions and score points. So all 3 phases, they all played a role in today's game. They got to figure out a way to shore it up somehow, some way over the next week.
And I think that's what hurts the most about this one specifically is you went in as a favorite in this game. You thought you were going to put everything away, and you had a chance for not only a division title but the #1 seed in the NFC. Safe to say that did not turn out for the Dallas Cowboys. Here's how it unfolded. We got to take a look at it because the film is important. Special teams miscues were a theme early on. Brian Anger fumbles the snap, picks it up, but he's taken down at the 20-yard line by Washington on the special teams unit. That field position led to the rookie Sam Howell on his first NFL pass attempt, finding Terry McLaurin for the touchdown. He turns upfield, Washington up 7-0. Then after a defensive stop, Cavante Turpin on the punt attempt. He's sitting back. He's been great all year long. The Pro Bowler muffs the punt. It's picked up by Washington. The ball is at the 15-yard line. They luckily did not convert on points there because of a missed field goal. Into the second, though, right after this bobbled punt, this muffed punt was miscued by Cavante Turpin and company. You go into the second quarter, Washington on the Dallas 5-yard line. Howell with another chance for points. Instead, he makes a huge mistake, gives it to Malik Hooker, steals those points with his 3rd interception of the year. Dallas with no rhythm, though, on offense. Even after the turnover, it won't get much better with this one. A pick 6 thrown by Dak Prescott, his 15th of the year.
I don't know what Dak was looking at. He had a warning shot to play before where he almost got intercepted. He decides to go right back to it in a coverage in which he can't go there. Turnover Cowboys.
Cowboys down by 13. They would actually salvage some points here to C.D. Lamb right before the break. A nice pitch and catch to Lamb to bring it back within a touchdown.
Yeah, Dak does his best work in the 2-minute drill. You see thread the needle right there to C.D. Lamb. Touchdown, great throw, great catch.
Washington led 13-6 at the break. The door was wide open in the third quarter for Dallas. It was slammed shut by Sam Howell. Breaks multiple tackles into the end zone. His second touchdown put Washington up 20-6. Dallas forced with a 4th and inches late in the game, and Dak Prescott would not get there. He was held short of the line. That was really their last opportunity to make it a game as the Cowboys shut out in the second half. The only touchdown was that throw to C.D. Lamb right before the end of the second quarter. The turnover on downs late, and Washington wins it 26-6, sending Dallas to Tampa Bay. They are the 5 seed in the NFC. They will face the 4 seed and NFC South champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, to mention that. The Buccaneers haven't been playing their best football as of late, but with the Cowboys playing the way they did today, we've got to break down some problems with Dak Prescott and company when we come back.
This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
14 completions, 37 total attempts, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Add an interception into the bunch, which was a pick six. And that's the stat line for Dak Prescott, the worst completion percentage in a single game throughout his career. And Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback, let's break down what happened with Dak early in this ball game. Previous to this game, he was 9-1 versus the Washington franchise. So the fact of the stat line being as bad as it was, maybe it was a long time coming, but either way, it wasn't pretty.
It wasn't pretty, but Dak hasn't been playing pretty ball for the last 4 or 5 games of this season. And I know a lot of people in Cowboys Nations are diehard and they don't want to point the finger at number 4, but the reality is he has to get better. And he's been making some bad decisions. He's been having a lack of technique and assertiveness in regards to his foundational pillars of being a quarterback. And then tonight we see it again. It shows back up. His lack of identification of coverage or his disregard of coverage and the concepts in which he's throwing the ball into. It's just bad ball. He's putting his team in bad situations. We saw it, he had an interception tonight that everybody, regardless if you know what football is or not, looks at it and says, what are you doing? You had one warning shot to play before and you decide to go right back to the pot. Right here, that was a warning shot that you see on your film right there, and then the next play comes back and it's an interception right here. So these are things that have to get shored up. They're making you say what's going on. I don't have an explanation for it, and I think the only person who does is that man on your screen.
And you know what? When I'm looking at the offensive line play, he's going through his read. He's going 1-2, and they own him. So that 2.5 to 3 seconds, he's getting there, but he's just not making the proper read. Not at all. Not every time.
Now, let's talk about the offense as a whole, because it's not all on Dak Prescott. You mentioned the offensive line there. The ground game never got going either. Both Tony Pollard, Malik Davis had 19 yards. Dak Prescott had 16. Ezekiel Elliott had only 8 carries for 10 yards in the game. What's going on up front for the run game?
No continuity. I've been saying this all year. That when you change in linemen in and out, the center is gone. Now we got to move the guard down, the tackle the guard, the tackle. And so it's too much movement. They can't get in the rhythm. They played okay today, but like I said, it wasn't the sacks that got them. It's the late hits. It's the moving the quarterback off his mark. He can't follow through with his passes. So, hey, this is what you get. You just get an ugly game where nobody, like you see Zeke right there, nobody was on the same page the whole day. And it starts with the O-line coming through to your quarterback.
Yeah, that's Cupid shuffle that you're talking about, Nate. Obviously, it's not helping. It's contributing to a lot of negative plays offensively, whether it be the happy feet of Dak Prescott, whether it be him trying to force balls. But when you look at the third down percentage, that's what really sticks out. You're talking about 4 of 18 on third down, 22% conversion. Not only is that terrible, but you also look at fourth down conversion. You're 1 of 3 on fourth down.
Yeah.
So we're talking about combined 5 for 21 on third and fourth down conversions. that's just not a recipe for success. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, and Nate, you've always talked about the time of possession battle, and the time of possession was thoroughly won by Washington today. Is that a side product of just a lack of execution?
Hey, our penalties went back up. I think we had 6 or 7 of those. Everything just escalated today. Coach McCarthy told us that these guys were going to be ready to win a game and to play hard. And in the play hard part, we missed. I mean, and it's not so much that you didn't play hard, you didn't play smart, you know. And if you listen to Barry Church and him talking about the receivers getting no type separation, we got to get a quarterback a chance. We all got to work for him. So, and then when they did get open, you know, he wasn't on time.
No,
he wasn't accurate with it.
Definitely wasn't. As we take a look at some of the stats, you see the total yards, that's a red flag. Rushing yards, red flag. Passing yards, all of those don't look great. And then you mentioned the turnovers, and you could have added 2 more with the turnovers that you had on the special team side of things as well that won't actually count into that category when you look at the box score, Isaiah, but you cannot allow your offense to be behind the chains like that.
No, you can't allow your offense to be behind the chains, but you also look at the first downs. We're talking about 10 first downs for entire 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Over the span of one drive, you can get 5, 6, 7 first downs. And we didn't get the 10 the entire game. There's a lot that has to happen over this next week for Dallas to feel good about the playoffs.
You look at some of the quarterbacks, by the way, that Dallas has lost against this year. Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, and now Sam Howell. So when we come back here on Cowboys OT, what happened and how did Sam Howell join that list of quarterbacks that was able to keep this Cowboys defense off balance enough for a win in the final week of the regular season?
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Third straight week for the Dallas defense to face a quarterback that isn't the normal starter for their team. Sam Howell coming in and making his NFL debut, had not taken a single snap at quarterback as a rookie out of North Carolina. Back here with Barry Church and Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Youmans. Barry, as a defender, sometimes you don't like seeing guys that don't have any tape on them.
Yes.
It's kind of tough. It's a little bit of a mystery card, wild card thrown at them, but when it's Sam Howell, 5th-round rookie, this Dallas defense that had been feared early in the season, what went wrong?
Well, you're 100% right. When as a defender, I used to hate going up against quarterbacks that I didn't have the tape on because you didn't know the strengths, you didn't know the weaknesses of that opposing quarterback, you didn't know, who did he love to go to on 3rd down or who was his go-to guy. So you're kind of guessing out there. But this is a 5th-round rookie who has yet to take an NFL snap. All right, and he was out there looking extremely efficient. So this Cowboys secondary as a whole, they have to get their act together. And that also has to do with the defensive line getting pressure on this guy. I mean, he was too cool, calm, and collected for a guy taking his first couple snaps out there. But I'll tell you this much, Kyle. That cornerback number 2 situation opposite of Trayvon Diggs, it's under attack. All right, it is under attack no matter who they throw out there. Today we saw Trayvon Mullen out there. We saw Noshawn Wright out there. Both of whom were giving up big plays. And that is something that this team has got to get fixed because when you go against Tom Brady next week, if you don't think he's going to be looking who's opposite of Trayvon Diggs and trying to attack that person with, Mike Evans or Godwin or some of these speed receivers they have, you're out of your mind. So they have got to figure out a way whether to get safety help on top, maybe buzz a linebacker underneath. But in order to get this passing game situated defensively, you got to figure out your cornerback number 2 situation because it is under attack right now.
41 attempts, 151 yards, 3.7. The average, don't worry about that, but they got 41 rushing attempts. They wore down our defense, and as the game went on, it showed. Yes, we got 3 sacks, and everybody said, well, we back to who we are. You're not. You needed more turnovers, and you didn't get those turnovers. Like you say, your second cornerback is under attack. And if the defense is going to help carry us, we're going to have to do a better job offensively. But this young guy, I guess by them not having a book on this guy hurt them, but you know what? He still shouldn't be able to deal with us. Our coverages should confuse him. And first and foremost, if you're going into the playoffs, you as a defense, number 1, has to earn the right to rush the passer. And we have not done that. We have continued to let people run. And when we really lose is when we have 31 minutes or more of time possession in favor of the opponent. We cannot let that happen if we want the Parsons of the world and the D-Laws of the world to take over a game.
Is it possible that this defense misses Leighton Vander Esch and Jonathan Hankins that much to where this is what it looks like without them? I mean, it's been 3 weeks without them now. this is what it looks like, right?
Oh, that's huge, especially when you talk about the ground game. 151 yards. I'm not saying, Hankins is the be-all, end-all, and he's going to come in here looking like Warren Sapp. But what he can do is at least keep those offensive linemen from getting to the second level. We saw when he was in there, Van Der Esch, Anthony Barr, whoever lined up on that second level, Damone Clark at sometimes, they were able to go sideline to sideline and downhill without any interference from the opposing offensive line. Since the absence of Hankins out there, they've been able to get up to that second level, making these linebackers deal with those guys head on, having to throw 300-pounders out the way before they can get to the running back. And that's not a solution for success. We've got to get this run game handled, and we have to get that number 2 cornerback situation handled. Hopefully with the signing of Xavier Rose, former Pro Bowl guy to the practice squad, he can come in here and at least instill some wisdom upon this young secondary. But there's a lot of holes with this defense going forward.
And you have to be able to get off the field. You have to have some third downs, and you get off the field. It always got to be about a turnover. It's about 3 downs and out, and we've not had enough of them. We got to start having a few more of those where people don't hit us on long big plays. Giving up the big plays to that second corner. What you have to do is prepare and sacrifice yourself. I'm talking about the Quentin Bohannons, the Gallimores, and all of these guys. You got to sacrifice yourself so Leighton Van Der Esch and all these other young guys can come downhill, because right about now you're sitting in their laps. And we can't have defensive linemen sitting in the laps of the linebackers. Now you got to make your safeties got to come up and make plays, and they can't sit in the backfield and help them the secondary. We has to let our front 7 stop everything, because our safeties have to help that second corner. If not, you're going to get more of this.
It's a domino effect. I mean, you talk about the pass rush to the secondary and back and forth, whatever's in between. I mean, it was not pretty on all 3 levels. Right. Not only on the defense, but on the offensive side of the football. We've already hit that quite a bit on this show. But when we come back, we hear from head coach Mike McCarthy, his thoughts out at FedEx Field. More Cowboys OT coming up next. Welcome into Cowboys OT from the Star in Frisco. The NFL regular season has come to an end, and so has possibly the worst performance the Cowboys have had all season long. 26-6, the final score as the Washington Commanders take down the Cowboys in the regular season finale. Dallas is now slotted in as the number 5 seed in the NFC playoffs. They will face Tampa Bay and Tom Brady in the wild card round next weekend. But let's hear from Mike McCarthy and his thoughts out at FedEx Field following the 20-point loss to NFC East foe Washington.
Mike, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. How would you characterize your team's performance today?
Not very good at all. Yeah, I mean, we played poorly. I just think, once again, first thing that comes to mind is when you're walking off the field, you think through the preparation and then all the things that didn't go right, and we played some combination of guys, and I thought they did a nice job on defense. We wanted to get through, personnel groups. That's something we've been challenged with as far as injuries. Offensive line, we didn't, offensive run block, and we didn't get it going in the run game, and and didn't have much going in the passing game.
Dak's had some bad plays, usually in the course of good games. When he's 14 for 37, what do you say about that?
Well, I just think, there's a lot more going on around. This is not about one guy. I mean, you can't look at our offensive performance and blame it on one guy. So there's plenty to go around.
You wanted to get the 13th win. You wanted to compete.
Yeah.
For them to title, you want to get momentum going to the playoffs. How disappointing to have a performance like this on the playoffs?
I think that's a bit dramatic. I think the fact is we played poorly tonight, and that starts with me, and I'll take responsibility for that. But we've played 17 games. I think our productivity over the course of 17 games is good or better than anybody's in the league. So if you but yeah, you want to be playing your best ball in January. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. We're all disappointed in our performance tonight. Even if we were to come out on the other side of it, we have to reboot and go. I mean, we knew that coming out of here. We know we're playing Tampa, and hopefully by the time we land, we'll know when the game is. But yeah, we're not going I'm not a burn the tape guy, so we're not flushing this away and not being accountable for it. So let's just make that real clear. But we'll watch it on the plane, we'll watch it on the bus ride, and we'll make sure it'll be cleaned up because, you know, the thing about it, let's be honest, we don't know if we're in a 6-day week, a 7-day week, or an 8-day week. So we got to be ready to go when we touch down.
What gives you confidence you can reboot?
Well, you got to reboot anyways. It's playoff time. It's there's no more guaranteed games. You know, you're guaranteed one game, and you got to do whatever you need to do in playoff football to win, and that's be our approach. And I have great confidence in this team. I have great confidence in the locker room. I think we got exceptional leadership. I think our young guys, you know, have contributed early in the year and have grown up. And at the end of the day, we're going to have a tough time picking 48 guys, and that's a great spot to be in. But you know, we need to practice better than we did last week. All those things. So this is, you know, ebb and flow of seasons are a part of being successful. I mean, this has been a consistent team throughout. I mean, our record speaks for that. Our productivity numbers speak to that. But at the end of the day, it's about one game. It's about beating Tampa. That's all we'll be thinking about when those wheels touch down.
Mike Todd with ESPN, 10 3-and-outs for this offense to be that way. How?
It's terrible, guys. I don't know how to keep saying it. Very disappointing, poor. You know, you guys have got big vocabularies. Go for it. I mean, it was not a very good. Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed, but you know, I give credit to Washington. They were definitely, you know, they played free of mind and played with great energy. And you know, let's be honest, we gave the ball to them twice to start the game, and we never really got going. You know, I thought our defense played really tough, you know, through 3 quarters, and you know, but hell, we left them out there all day. I mean, it's you know, we definitely didn't do our part offensively.
I know you said it.
Obviously, some frustration there from Mike McCarthy following the 26-6 loss to Washington. I feel like there's a lot of frustration around this Cowboys team today. Nobody anticipated this one going the way that it did as we welcome back in Barry Church and Isaiah Stanback. But where do you start, though? Is it start at the top? He said it himself. The preparation, the week ahead, it did not go right. Where do you start? Is it start with the head coach?
Always. And I respect him for speaking up and taking that ownership, because so many coaches would not do that. A lot of coaches would kind of point the finger and say, hey, offense has to do better. We have to. He said it starts with me. It starts with our preparation as coaches, and we have to have a better week of practice. He didn't allow anybody to be singled out, and I think that's where it has to start. I think everybody has to look at themselves in the mirror. That's why there's film study. We do extensive film study. That's the reason why we're good as analysts, because we go back and we watch film and we're able to talk about the things that we see. They're going to do the same exact thing. They're going to do a deep dive. On the plane tonight, they will be watching this film over and over and over again. By the time they land, they will get some grades back. These guys will have grades in their hands as of how they perform tonight, and the coaches will be meeting on the plane as well as to what they can be doing collectively to ensure that they have the best week of preparation going into play Tampa.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, it starts and stops with the head coach, and he's taking full responsibility of it. And he's done a great job pretty much all season long, taking responsibility for the mishappenings of his team. And he's right also when he says all the blame can't go on one guy. You know, this is not all Dak Prescott's fault or the offense or the defense. Everybody had a share in this loss, and everybody had a share in the wins when they were able to do that as well. But overall, like McCarthy said, they're going to have a great week of practice out there, better than they had last week in preparation, because we all understand in the playoffs, everything's heightened up just a little bit more. The speed of the game, the physicality of the game, your decisions that you make out there have bigger outcomes as well. So they got to get on track with that offensively and defensively, and make sure they take care of the football. I mean, that's been the Achilles heel for this offense pretty much the second half of this year, is turning the football over. When you get into the playoffs, you're not going to last very long, because other teams are going to be able to take advantage of your turnovers.
With as much credit as Mike McCarthy and this coaching staff deserve for getting them to this point, 12-win seasons in back-to-back years, we've heard the stat throughout the week for the first time since 1994 and 1995. At times, there are losses like this. You go back and you look at this game, you look at the Jacksonville game, Green Bay game, where you had big-time leads. This one, you felt like at some point it would click, but this was a team on paper you were far better against. Yeah. Does he deserve more of the credit in losses like this than he does to get them at least back to this point?
No, I don't think he deserves, more of the credit for the loss. I think this team overall came out flat, and that does start at the top with the head coach, and he, took full responsibility of that. And that's just something that they're going to have to overcome, because like we've seen early on in this year, it seems like this Cowboys team, when they have something to play for, they're going against a top talent or one of the top teams out there, they play up to their talent level. But then when they're going against the Houstons of the world, or even this Washington Commanders team where there's not a lot to play for besides getting momentum going into the playoffs, they play down to their opponent. So there's something that they're going to have to get, and I believe that's a mindset that you have to have going into each and every game, that no matter who you go against, you're the better team, you're the more talented team, you're going to come out on top. That's just a simple mindset that this team has to adopt, because right now, playing down to your opponent's level, it's just not going to work.
I think this team and this organization is still trying to figure out their identity. I don't think they've completely put their finger on that yet. I think when you look through the NFL and you think about some of these head coaches, you know, you think about Detroit. When you play Detroit, you think about Dan Campbell. Like, you know what you're going to get out of Detroit. They might not be the greatest team in the world, but you know they're going to be resilient. They're going to come out fight. They're going to hit you in the mouth. Or, you know, think about the Mike Tomlins of the world. You know what you're going to get out of them, right? They're going to fight dog. You know, it's going to be a dog fight the whole time. You don't know what you're going to get with the Dallas Cowboys. And for that, I do say that Coach McCarthy and the rest of his staff have to find a way to make sure that they instill a culture collectively. I think Dan Quinn has a culture for his defense, but collectively as an entire organization, as team, I don't think that the Dallas Cowboys have figured that out yet.
And Cowboys Nation has not seen back-to-back losses since the middle of last year, so hopefully they got it all out of the way now. That's kind of hard to talk about at the moment with as poor of a performance as it was for the Cowboys. When we come back, though, let's dive in on Dak Prescott. What happened to Dak? We'll hear from QB1 after this break. More Cowboys OT returning in a moment. Dak Prescott completes the worst percentage of his passes in a single game throughout his career as the Cowboys fall to the Washington Commanders. 26-6 the final score from FedEx Field. Let's go back out to Landover, Maryland, and hear from Dak himself.
How do you separate that from knowing you have to forget about it quickly and get ready for camp?
Yeah, we've got the right guys in this locker room that understand, that are mature men, that understand that nobody played their best ball, simple as that. But to be accountable, starting with myself, be accountable for what you put out there, what you did, and then from that, understanding that's not who we are, and then moving on and knowing what we've got ahead of us, and it's one play at a time, the intensity, the focus, all that, one play at a time, one game at a time.
How do you explain that performance, especially your performance? You've had 2 picks, but you've had a lot of high completion, but 14 to 37, whatever it was. How do you explain it?
It's hard to. I mean, I said crappy. Yeah, I mean, 14 completions, I mean, yeah, not good enough, period.
Dallas Morning, could you feel that when you're out there, like just everything is completely out of sorts?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're just trying to get something going, and just wasn't able to, honestly. And I mean, some of the times, yeah, I probably should have just went underneath on some of the throws and wanting to make a play, wanting to get the energy going, wanting to get us going. Took some shots, and those shots weren't there. And once again, we're back behind the chains, and we never put ourselves in third downs that were manageable, and that's what we've done this year.
Were you aware of the Eagles score during the game that they got?
Not at all. Not at all. Zero awareness of what was going on over there. I mean, as I told you before, we had to handle business for that to even be a possibility. So, no, just couldn't get off on the right foot.
Yeah, Todd Archer with ESPN. Is it easy to look at a 17-game season and say 12-5, or does this one linger for a little longer?
No, this one won't linger. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to go back and look at our body of work and what we've done, especially when this isn't anywhere in those past 16 games. When you have a performance like this, whatever it was, whatever the reason may be, we've got to, as I said, individually look at it, take accountability, learn from it, and then understand that, hey, with that playing touchdown, we're on to Tampa. And we know who they are, played them twice in these last 2 years, and it's going to be a good one.
What gives you confidence that you can turn the page? I know you said 16, 17 games, but the team haven't had success in the playoffs. You haven't had success against Tampa. What gives you confidence that you can burn this and it's going to be a different team next week?
As I said, the men in the room. And sure, I mean, you look at the first game of this season, wasn't good at all. I didn't play to my performance, obviously, and that was just getting going, trying to find our identity. We lost that game, but you go back a year ago when we played those guys. we've had, just because we didn't win that game, we had some success and familiar now after 2 years of playing them. So that obviously gives you confidence, but more importantly, as I said, the men in the locker room, understanding the resilience that they've shown all year long, that we've shown, just being able to respond. And for myself, that's all I know. That's all I know. Been having to get back up my whole life.
Michael Galpin, Dallas Morning News. In the 4 games now without Terrence Steele, the run game has not met your guys' standard. Past 2 games especially so. What collectively needs to happen here in a week's time to get that part of this offense on track?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, I would think those guys would tell you first, they got to be accountable for what they're doing, their communication, and just trying to be more physical, I guess. Obviously, we're not going to get Terrence back in this time, so we've got to make sure that we lock in and do our best with what we've got, and we've got some great players. I mean, you've got Tyron Smith over there on the right side and another Hall of Famer over there on the left, if that's what it is. And so no doubt in my mind that that's not going to get corrected.
Dak Prescott said it himself, 14 completions isn't going to get the job done, especially when you throw it 37 times and you have a pick 6 in there as well. He has not been playing well as of late as we welcome you back to Cowboys OT. But, Nate, it's not even just the compounding fact that he hasn't been playing well and then he has a game like this. It's the fact that you're doing it going into the playoffs where you're supposed to be peaking. Instead, you feel like you're in a rut.
Yeah, we've been beating this, Kyle. We've been beating this up for 4 or 5 weeks now. It's December football. It's January football. Let's hit a stride. But we haven't hit that stride. It's been turnovers. It's been bad play. It's been up and down play depending on who you play. If you're going to mature as a team, you have to understand that this is a one-and-done situation. And if you realize that, you tell everybody at the home front, everybody at the house, everybody that wants to come in, this is first. This is foremost, because if we go one and done, you'll get me the whole offseason. But if we go further, we can all rejoice in this. And this is what they're not understanding. I've been there a couple of times. And to have that pressure put on you and that expectation is large, but it comes with preparation and success. And if you can do that, if you can get the preparation down and start working in the right way and looking at things for what it really is, you'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Nate, but I just don't know where they need to start. I really don't. Like, I would say the run game. I assume that you need to get the run game going, but then we have to go to the conversation of the continuity on the offensive line. And you've talked extensively about the problems that presents with the musical chairs going on up front. So if you can't establish the running game, then you're forcing Dak Prescott to play outside of himself because he's not a quarterback that can throw the ball 35-plus times a game and have a good body of work. So I'm not really sure how this offense gets back on track, because you're looking at a Dak who over the last 4 games has 6 interceptions. And I can keep going on the stats as we go back, but I'm not a stat guy. It's the decision-making. It's the decision-making, and I think the inability of this offense to be able to get the ground game going consistently that is putting them against the wall and putting them in a bad position, but it has to get figured out within 6 or 7 days.
So is that basically what it takes, is you have to have a ground game in order to allow Dak Prescott to have any kind of success?
The history shows it. The analytics showed it. When he's 30, when we run the ball 40 times, 35 to 40 times, and he throws less than 30 times, the numbers are phenomenal. I don't want to pigeonhole him, because in the playoffs, you have to make plays as quarterbacks to get your team over the hump. But this is what you have to go in and bend, and you got to cater a little bit more to your defense. You got to sustain some drives. We didn't do that today going into this Washington Commander game.
I'm not even going to go to the stat line. I'm just going to say playoffs, decision-making just has to be of the utmost importance.
Oh, I'll go to the stat line. Don't you worry. I'll make sure and hit it. 14 of 37, 128, a touchdown, and an interception. You can't win playoff games with that type of stat line. I don't care who is that quarterback, who is that running back. You've got to play better as a whole offensively. But the defense didn't necessarily do any favors as well. When we come back, we'll hear from Micah Parsons, hear from the star in Frisco when we return with more Cowboys OT. Cowboys tallied 3 sacks of Sam Howell in the loss against the Washington Commanders. Micah Parsons didn't have one of those sacks. He looked a little banged up at the end. Here's his words following the loss to Washington.
Micah, how surprised were you by what you saw out there?
I was pretty surprised. It's tough. Yeah, definitely surprised. When you talk about finishing the season strong, I wouldn't consider that finishing strong.
What do you attribute that performance to? I mean, you guys have so much to play for, and to come out there would look like maybe your worst performance of the season.
I don't know. I honestly don't know where you can start. From the very beginning of the game to the end, it just wasn't good. And when we talking about championship teams, you got to perform better. But, you know, I think everyone has a fall, and there's a rise in every movie. So hopefully this was our falls and we can rise up and next week get it together because we got to play better.
Right, you guys have preached resiliency all season long. How confident are you guys that you can turn the page quickly and gear up for the playoffs and hopefully make a run?
I mean, our record shows every time we lost one, we go out and show people what we really are. So hopefully we could do that. But we definitely can't come out and perform like this today. So I'm very confident in this team, myself, that, you know, I'm going to be ready.
Because of this relatively slim chances to improve your playoff standing, was there any lack of motivation coming out there for you guys today? Do you feel like that was a factor at all?
I don't think. Honestly, I feel like it's very simple for me. Like, I'm not playing for seedings. Like, I'm not playing for, you know, whatever, however the people may want to say we playing for. Like, if you put your cleats on and you put your helmet on, like, that's what you should be playing for. Like, the people across from you, the people you work with, the people you know what I'm saying? Like, the motivation to me is simple. Like, we saw last week, we should be grateful just to step on the field. And I feel like if everybody's not, you know, grateful for this opportunity that we have, like, I just want to play. Like, regardless, banged up or not, like, I'm grateful to still be here and to be able to play. So that's all the motivation people should have. And if people don't got that same motivation, then, you know, we probably won't go far.
So there's Micah Parsons. Barry, when you look at this defense, where does it start? Secondary, pass rush, how do they get back to normal?
I think it's got to rely on that pass rush. I mean, with the injuries they have in the secondary, 2 of your top 3 corners have been gone. They're attacking that second corner right now. I think it's up to this pass rush, who's relatively healthy overall, to get back going and get in the right direction. It's definitely affecting the quarterback. I mean, that's what made them so formidable earlier this year. A lot of those guys, they were able to win their one-on-one battles. We understand Parsons is going to get a lot of the attention. He's going to get the chip blocks. He's going to get the double teams. But that should open up things for the other players out there. DeMarcus Lawrence, Odighi Zua out there, you know, Dorrance Armstrong. Those are the guys that are going to be getting these one-on-ones, and they're going to have to take advantage of those one-on-ones and affect the quarterback. Because if we can't affect the guy next week, Tom Brady, he knows, he's seen every defense there is in the book, and he will dice this secondary apart by taking what the defense gives you. So to me, it relies on this defensive line to step their game up and hopefully get after the quarterback.
You know, it's a run game and it's a pass game, and you got to take one of them away with great effectiveness. And teams you can adjust as the defense. Right about now, they don't know which coverage to be in, what front to play, because they haven't stopped the run. They passing when they need to. This kid today, he was 11 for 19, 59%, 169 yards, and he beat us. But that's because they had 157 yards rushing and 41 attempts. They control the tempo. They control the pace of the game. They wore down our defense with 33-plus minutes of our time possession. And, yeah, you know, you're going to stay banged up if you got to play like that. And coming in here next week, Tom Brady, you know, he ain't got to sit down with the coaches. He can design the game plan himself.
Oh, yeah, he's an extension of the coaching staff. He's going to make things way tougher on that Cowboys defense heading into next week. But when we come back, part of the whole thing is time of possession and getting that ground game going as well. We'll hear from Ezekiel Elliott when we come back with more Cowboys OT. Not a great day on the ground for the Dallas Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott with just 8 carries for 10 yards. Here's what he had to say following the loss to Washington.
Yeah, I mean, very difficult. Just a minor 3 and outs. Just struggle getting stuff going, getting any momentum. Yeah. You know, we're just struggling with movement. You know, just line movement. Something we kind of struggled with all year, but it's been worse. You know, the past couple of weeks. But beauty of it, you know, we got another life now. Now they all matter that much more, and you know, got to get this thing right, get this thing rolling for the playoffs.
Because of how slim the chances were for you guys to improve your playoff positioning coming into today, was there a lack of motivation out there?
No, there was no lack of motivation. Yeah, no lack of motivation at all. We all felt like we needed to come out there and you know, get some good momentum, get a win. One, putting ourselves in a position to possibly, or for whatever would happen, and then two, just to get momentum rolling into this next part of the season.
So if you guys weren't lacking motivation, how do you explain a performance that listless?
I don't know if there's an explanation. I just think we didn't go out there and execute.
How confident are you, Zeke, that this group can just regather themselves and make a deep playoff run?
Yeah, I'm super confident in the group of men we got. You know, we have a team full of leaders. You know, we all got this feel in our stomach, and I mean, we're gonna get this thing right.
So there's what Zeke had to say following the disappointing loss to the Washington Commanders. 26-6 the final score. And when we come back, we'll put this one in the rearview mirror for Cowboys OT and take a look ahead. It's playoff time in Dallas.
The Cowboys OT was brought to you by Sleep Number. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com. Trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.
Well, thank goodness this one is over and done. The Dallas Cowboys wrap up the regular season in not so great style. 26-6 the final score against the Washington Commanders. But it's time to shift the focus into playoff time. The Cowboys are the 5 seed out of the NFC. They will face Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round. Barry Church, Nate Newton, Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Youmans. As we wrap up Cowboys OT, what's the biggest thing that needs to see a turnaround this week if they're going to have any sort of success against the Bucs?
Well, offensively, they've got to fix this turnover problem. You know, whether it's interceptions, it's botched punts, whatever the case may be, decision-making, ball placement, whatever it must be, they have to fix it. Because I'm telling you, once you get into the playoffs, if you go out there and you turn the football over, a guy by the name of Tom Brady, he's going to make your defense and your team overall pay for each and every takeaway you throw out there or you fumble away. So you've got to take care of the football. The football is of the utmost importance when you get into playoff action. All of these players should understand that, and hopefully they can nip it in the bud.
Offensively, you got the offensive line. You have to know who you're playing and what to do with these players. You cannot have this Swiss Army knife offensive line. These guys got to be able to protect Dak, protect the run, and control tempo.
Ditto to what these two just said, but in accordance with that, you have to find a way to sustain drives and get Tom Brady off the field, because he is a master of the continuous 4-minute offense. If you don't find a way to take the ball away from him, he will literally get Leonard Fournette going against your rush defense, and then he will simply pick apart your defense play after play after play. Find a way to get him off the field.
Got to find a way to get him off the field, but is it a compounding thing? You get some guys back. You got to win the battle in the trenches. You got to win time of possession, because it's got to start somewhere, right?
It's got to start somewhere, and I think it starts in the trenches with your defensive line, especially going against a guy like Tom Brady. He's always going to take what the defense gives you, and you can't have a guy like that who's seen every defense there is in the book to go out there and be comfortable. You got to rattle him, and we all know how to rattle that guy is to have pressure up the middle. So to me, Neville Gallimore or Digizua, if you're bringing A-gap pressure, whatever the case may be, you have to be in this man's face or he'll make you pay.
Hey, you know what? Offensive defensive lines control tempo of the game.
Of course, and we don't know when exactly this game will take place. We have a suspicion it'll be on Monday Night Football, and we do know it will be on the road against Tampa Bay. And if the Cowboys are going to have to get an early start to the NFC playoff picture, they're going to have to go through the GOAT to do so, and Tom Brady, who beat you back in Week 1. We'll be here to break it down, win or lose for the Cowboys next week. For Barry, Nate, Isaiah, and our entire crew, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long. That does it for us on Cowboys OT. We'll see you next week.